let's continue our discussion on trying to create sketches in Inventor. Just remember that these are super important when you're creating any kind of part. Good sketching will definitely make your drafting work, and especially your modeling work, a lot more simpler when you create it. So we're going to create this sketch today. Remember that we're going to create 3 in all, and if you haven't seen the other videos on the other 2, please go back and watch. But today we're going to start with this one. And this is going to be a little simpler. It has a couple of circles and some lines and things of that nature on it. But we're going to set it up and sketch it correctly here in Inventor. So remember that once we start Inventor, that we have to decide what units that we're going to use. And in this case, it's going to be a millimeter part. So I just usually like to select the new icon here. And once the dialog box appears, it will decide which units that we're going to use from there. In this case, we're going to use a metric again, and it's going to be the standard millimeter IPT. You can double click this icon, or you can have it selected here and hit the word create. Either one will work. So I just double clicked on the icon, and you'll give it a few seconds and Inventor should load up for you. So once Inventor loads up, remember we're going to start a sketch. Here at the bottom of this icon, it says start a 2D sketch, which is what I want to do. So I'm just going to select the top icon. One click on here and you're going to get the access to which planes that you're going to use. Now each one of these planes are telling you which one depending on the origin. If you expand the origin drop down here, you can see those are the 3 planes that are isolated. And if you kind of refer to the view cube, you can create your shape depending on which way you want that view to go. So as we start creating parts later on, I will start referencing that a little bit more. But in this instance, I'm just going to use the XY plane. So I'll select the XY plane, and this time I'm going to select it along this side. The first thing I always do is make sure that the word front or top or whatever is in the correct orientation. Remember that you can use the arrows to reorient it right. The yellow dot that's in the middle is our origin. And if you verify that your ribbon has changed to now a drafting or a 2D creation ribbon. Okay, so let's first start with a couple of circles. So I'll create a circle. I'll place it here. And then you can see as I'm stretching that out, it's giving me the millimeters or how big I want to create that circle. This is a radius circle. So you can do a right click and then you can select the word radius. And now you can go ahead and create a radius circle. From here, I'll type in 36. And now that's my first circle. Let's zoom out a little bit. And let's go ahead and create our other circle that has a radius of 15. So I'll go back to the circle command. I'll click here. And you'll notice that I'm not aligning these up or doing anything of that nature yet. I'm just randomly drawing them anywhere that I want. So I'll make that one at 15. Okay, so some of the dimensions on the drawing is calling out some specifics. Some of the things that I noticed is that I noticed that this circle, which has the radius of 15 and 36, are in line with each other. So I'm going to make sure that they are horizontal. And then I have a distance of 85 that's running from it. This is also created with a fillet going here. And I can create an arc that's going on here. So let's switch back over to Inventor and see how to create this. Okay, so back here, the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that these are aligned with each other. So I'm going to choose this horizontal constraint, and that's just going to make sure that they stay horizontally aligned with each other. You can also put a dimension from this center point to this center point and lock it in at 0. It does the exact same thing, but I like to use constraints as it will clear up some of these extra dimensions as you get some more complicated parts. So let's choose horizontal. Let's choose this center. And you can see right when I highlight the center, you should get a dotted line that's showing you which direction. Some cases you will pick, or depending on how your drawing is orientated, you will pick one that says horizontal and you don't know if it's horizontal. But in this case, I'll go ahead and select the vertical just to show you what I mean. You can see when I hover over that dot, I'm getting a vertical dotted line. So that's going to tell you which way that you're going to orient these horizontally or vertically. So let's go ahead and go back to the horizontal. I'll select this center, and then I'll select this center, and you're going to see that they come aligned with each other. Next, I'm going to add a dimension from this center to this center, and then I'm going to put that at a distance of 85. Okay, so now these two are oriented correctly, and they're not oriented in correction, or in alignment with your orientation. So let's go ahead and figure out a way to align this with this orientation. I know that this part, it's probably any dimension that you want to put this away from it, but I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that these center lines are in line with my origin. So I'm going to select that same horizontal constraint, and it doesn't matter which one of these center points that you pick, so I'll just select this one, and then I'll select my origin, and you're going to see that that part comes down. Okay, the distance now that I need is from this origin to one of these centers, and it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to put a distance or a dimension from this center to this center. I'm going to go up and I'm going to place this dimension. Now what I'm going to do is reference a dimension. And the way that you do that in Inventor is by selecting this dimension. You can see I get an fx beside of it. That means that it's going to be a function of that dimension. So once I select that, you're going to see the name of that dimension come in here, which is D3. The dimension that I'm creating right now, is D2. The dimension that I'm creating right now is D3. So I'm referencing that dimension, and I'm just going to divide it by 2. So it'll be half of that dimension no matter what happens. So if I go ahead and I create this and I make this a lot bigger, you're going to see that the function of that number, let me go ahead and escape out of this and move this dimension up so it's not necessarily overlapping. If I increase the size of this dimension, it should increase the size of that one, since it is a function of it. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to double click that dimension, and if I make it 100, you can expect that dimension at the top to be at 50, which if I zoom back, it does change to 50. Let's go ahead and put this back at 85. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line that's going from this top tangent, and I'm just going to go right through this line here, or this circle. So I'm just going to draw a line, and I'm just going to make it a horizontal line. Make sure you're getting that horizontal constraint there next to your cursor. I'll do a left click here, and now I'm going to locate this line on the tangent point of the top of this circle. I'm going to use the tangent constraint to do that. So I'll select tangent, and it doesn't matter which order you select these in. You can select the circle first and then the line, or the line and then the circle. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to leave that there for now. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and put an arc or a circle that's located here, and then I can come in and trim it. Now in AutoCAD, you can use the fillet command to do this. This will not work, as far as I know, in this program. So if I try to come and go to fillet, and I change that distance to 45, and remember that when you're in this program, try not to hit enter after you hit those numbers, and you can see that I won't even get those circles to select. So I have to go ahead and create a circle and then trim that circle. So let's go back to circle, and I notice that I want it somewhere in between here. I'm just going to go ahead and select here. I'm still in a radius mode, so I'm going to type in 45, enter. And now in order to get that circle to align with what I want it to do, go back and use the tangent constraint. Now try to keep in mind that I want these two to be about in this area, so I'm going to select that area on this line and somewhere on this line. I'll do the exact same here. It almost looks like these are tangent, but I'm just going to select that circle, and then I'll select that circle. Go ahead and escape out of this command, and the next thing I want to do is go ahead and trim these. So I'm going to use the trim command, and from here I should be able to trim off the excess parts that I don't want. And I'm also going to trim between these gaps along these circles. The last thing that I need to do is go ahead and put a radius right here. So I'm going to select fillet. Go ahead and type in 18. Do not hit the enter button after you type it in. Go ahead and click that line and that arc. Escape out of the command. And once I go to finish sketch, it's ready for me to do whatever I want to do to this part. So I can extrude it, revolve it, or anything of that nature. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial over sketching. Get used to using some of those constraints up there. As you can see, it's good to put dimensions, or some things can be dimensions, but in other cases, a lot of these cases, you're going to have to use these constraints. So I want to thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video.